Thanks so much. Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in. And my name is Jönsson and I'm the CEO of AlzeCure Pharma. And what I will go through with you today is who we are, our focus areas and our pipeline and the science we are having that the company is building on, and also the progress we are having in our programs in the Alzheimer space, and also the goals for 2023. And then also a proposed rights issue, which is coming up in December. If we look at AlzeCure Pharma in brief, AlzeCure is a company focusing on Alzheimer's and pain, and we know those are areas of huge unmet medical need. We were founded as a commercial company in 2016 with a sponsorship from the Swedish Alzheimer Fund. And you can see us as a spin-off out of AstraZeneca because AstraZeneca were active in the areas of CNS, Alzheimer's and pain into 2012. And when they stopped their research, 5 researchers from AstraZeneca together with Alzheimer Fund and researchers at Karolinska Institute started the AlzeCure Foundation. And we are a very experienced team with competence from target identification, molecule development, preclinical work and development. So we have a broad competence. And we are based at Karolinska Institute and we work very much with the Karolinska. And we have developed 3 platforms with small molecule candidates. And we have Alzstatin, where we are developing a treatment to prevent that the people are developing Alzheimer's disease. And then we have New Restore, which are a novel first-in-class symptomatic treatment for cognitive disorders, where we also focus on Alzheimer's disease. And then we have Painless, a platform with pain project, where we are using the same, to some extent, same mechanism as in New Restore, but reversing them. And we will come back to that. And then we are listed at Nasdaq since 2018, and we have a market cap around 200 million and a cash position of 37 after Q3. And our business model is that we are a research and development company. Our aim is to develop our projects into early clinical phase up to 2A and then to out-license. And what we are focusing are small molecule drugs, and that is to increase our risk, likelihood of success in our projects. And if you look at the small molecule, it's very small and compared to, for example, biologics. And the reason we are working with small molecules is that the likelihood of a small molecule to come over the blood-brain barrier and hit the targets in the brain is much higher with a small molecule. But also our aim is to be able to develop oral medication, and then also small molecule products are also much more cost effective to produce. So there is a benefit both for the company and for society. And we have a pipeline that you see on this slide of 6 different projects, which are divided into our 3 different platforms. And if we begin with New Restore, our lead candidate ACD856, we just finished a phase 1 study where we had positive results both on safety tolerability and also showed target engagement. And we have also generated additional very positive data around New Restore, which I will talk to a bit later. So this candidate is actually now phase 2 ready. Then a second program, Alzstatin, there we are in preclinical phase. This year we have advanced new molecules which we have been presenting on. And then we also have the Painless platform with our pain projects. And there this year we started a phase 2 with ACD440 targeting neuropathic pain. And this is a program that we expect the readout on mid next year. And then we also have TrkA-NAM, where we are focusing on osteoarthritis, a big indication. And this year we have presented a new preclinical data, which I will talk to later on. And we work very close with leading experts in the field. Here you see examples of partners we have had for very many years. Professor Bengt Winblad, a neuroscientist from Karolinska Institute. Professor Maria Eriksdotter, also at Karolinska Institute. And then we also have world-renowned Henrik Zetterberg in Gothenburg, specializing in biomarkers. And these are individuals that we have been working with for a long time and has been crucial for our development. And if you look at our primary focus area, it's really Alzheimer's disease. And Alzheimer's disease is an area which is costing the society more than oncology and cardiovascular diseases together. And this in a patient population which is expected to triple in the next 30 years. So why is that? The reason is that, as we know, people are living longer and longer, and the risk of developing dementia and Alzheimer increases with age. So we are expecting the population to triple in the next 30 years. So around 150 million people will suffer from dementia, whereof 60 to 70 will have Alzheimer's disease. And if you look at Alzheimer's disease, you can divide it up in two different phases of this progressive lethal disorder. In the first phase, you have so-called pre-symptomatic Alzheimer's. And during this period, you don't experience the disease, but what's happening in the brain is that there are toxic proteins, amyloid beta, building up in the brain and breaking down the structures of the brain. And today, there are no treatments to block this. And then you have symptomatic Alzheimer's, and that is when you are having the symptoms, starting with speech problems, memory loss, and then functional problems. And there are some drugs today, but they aren't very effective. So what we can say is that there is a huge unmet medical need in both these categories. And if you look at the different therapies for Alzheimer's disease, we can look at it in this way. There are symptomatic treatment, disease-modifying treatment, and preventive treatment. And disease-modifying treatment, like the antibodies, they are slowing down the disease progression, and you start the treatment when you have symptoms. But what you also need for the patient to really improve life quality, memory capability and so on, is a symptomatic treatment which is enhancing the memory and learning capabilities. But what we really need is a preventive treatment. And we at AlzeCure work with all of these three different types of therapies. If you look at how we are approaching this, we are approaching it with two unique platforms. We are having Alzstatin, where we are developing the preventive and disease-modifying treatment, where we are focusing on minimizing the production of the toxic protein amyloid beta. And here we are developing an oral medication. And then for the patients who have developed cognitive problems like in Alzheimer's disease, we are developing Neural Restore to enhance the individual's capability to learn and remember. And also here we are developing an oral medication. And if we begin to look at Alzstatin, the preventive disease-modifying treatment against Alzheimer's, with Alzstatin, we are focusing on to prevent the development of plaque in the brain. And this is happening through a cascade where the toxic proteins are entering in the brain and building up. And this cascade is looking like this. And here we are focusing on the starting building block A-beta-42 to reduce A-beta-42 production. Because when A-beta-42 comes into the brain, it's building up in bigger and bigger fragments. And it's these bigger fragments which are breaking down the brain. And the antibodies that you have heard of are going in removing the toxic plaque. We are starting at the start to see to it that these toxic fragments aren't being produced or reducing the production. And we will see a film explaining this more in detail.
In the cell membrane, there are many different proteins, one of which is APP. This protein is cleaved by specific enzymes into smaller peptides. In Alzheimer's disease, APP is initially generally cleaved by an enzyme called beta secretase. The second cleavage is made by an enzyme called gamma secretase, resulting in the release of a smaller fragment called beta amyloid. This protein has a tendency to clump together into larger aggregates, oligomers, which damage and interfere with the normal functioning of the nerve cells. Over time, large insoluble protein aggregates are formed in the brain, so-called amyloid plaques, which is a key hallmark of the disease. AlzeCure's project Alzstatin prevents the formation of beta amyloid and reduces the buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain. Alzstatin does this by modulating the gamma secretase so that the enzyme cleaves beta amyloid into shorter fragments that are not toxic to the cells, nor aggregate to form plaques.
This was describe the function of alzstatin. So alzstatin is focusing on A-beta-42 to diminish the production of A-beta-42, the toxic protein. And the way we are doing it is by a so-called gamma secretase modulator, which is minimizing the production of A-beta-42 with up to 50 to 60%. And if we look at the different treatment stages that drugs are going in, you surely have heard a lot about the antibodies. One is available in the US, another one is on its way in. The antibodies are targeting mild Alzheimer's disease. And on this picture here to the right, you see what the brain looks like when it's treated with an antibody. The brain is really broken down to 20 to 30%, and you don't want to get there. What we instead are focusing on is to go in and treat the patient or the person before the brain is damaged, and to identify the patient at an early stage. And if we look at the alzstatin differentiating factor compared to antibodies, we have it's a small molecule which to a greater extent penetrate the blood-brain barrier. An antibody only about 1.2% goes over the blood-brain barrier. Here with these small molecules it's much higher amounts. Also that we are developing an oral formulation for home treatment, so you don't need to go into a hospital to get an infusion. And then also, as we talked about, it's a preventive treatment because we don't want to damage the brain. We want to make sure that the brain is well functioning. And then also here, we're also focusing on to have as few side effects as possible, because we know that the antibodies, as we've seen from the study, are truly causing side effects. Then we are having NeuroRestore, which is our cognitive enhancer, which also have shown neuroprotective potential. And here we see an opportunity in several indications. And this is to improve memory and learning capabilities. And here we will see a movie explaining how it works.
The electrical impulses transmitted along the projections of nerve cells result in the release of particular messenger molecules, so-called neurotransmitters. These molecules transmit signals from one nerve cell to the next at specific contact points, or synapses. The dysfunction and loss of synapses in Alzheimer's disease correlates strongly with the clinical symptoms seen in the affected individuals. AlzeCure's project, NeuroRestore, improves nerve cell function and enhances their ability to communicate with each other, including improving synapse function.
So this is NeuroRestore. So what NeuroRestore is doing, it is focusing on enhancing the brain function. And the way we are doing it is that we have developed compounds which are positive allosteric modulators, which are increasing the signaling of the neurotrophins like BDNF and NGF. And BDNF and NGF are very, very crucial for the brain health, but also for the capability for cognition and memory enhancement. And what's very positive with this platform, NeuroRestore, is that we believe it can be used in very many different indications, not only in Alzheimer's. You also have cognitive disorders in Parkinson, traumatic brain injury, and sleep disorders. So this is really a platform which has a large potential. And what we have been able to show that we can do is that we can enhance the capability to learn, but also to store what you have learned, and also to help to remember what you have learned. And we have dosed at these 3 different stages and shown that we have the capability in all of them. And this year, or this summer, we came out with positive results on NeuroRestore, and showing that it's safe, tolerable, and also are activating the brain centers, or the centers in the brain which are crucial in connection with cognition, but also actually in depression. Then we have also been showing that we have a potential neuroprotective effect, and that we actually also can activate the mitochondria with up to 25-50%, which is also big. And then what's also very positive is that we got our patent for NeuroRestore granted in the US until 2039, so a long patent term, and this is not including expected exclusivity. So based on this, this program, which now is phase 2 ready, has a great potential. And we will present new data in the coming week at the leading Alzheimer Congress, CETAD, so stay tuned. Our second area is chronic pain, and chronic pain is leading to as many suicides like in depression. It's also the most common cause for sick leaves, and it also has led to an opioid crisis in the US. So we can truly say there's a huge need for alternative and more efficacious and safer treatments. And the way we are addressing this is with 2 platforms. We have TrkA NAM, a negative allosteric modulator, where we are focusing on osteoarthritis. And then we also have neuropathic pain, where there are more than 600 million patients. And here we have the ACD440, which now is in phase 2, and it's built on what was rewarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine last year. And this was rewarded to Professor David Julius for his knowledge around the TRPV1 receptor. And we have a TRPV1 antagonist, which we have in-licensed, which we have developed into a topical formulation. Last year, we had positive results in a phase 1 study on safety, tolerability, and efficacy. And therefore, we went to the FDA with these results, and we got feedback and have started a phase 2 study, which we are expecting to read out so we can communicate the results next year. But this one looks very, very promising. And neuropathic pain is the biggest market for pain medication. Already now, you have sales of around 11 billion. But you have also a double-digit growth, so the sales potential here is huge. And then we have TrkA NAM, a non-opioid treatment against severe pain conditions, where we are focusing on osteoarthritis. And we know that targeting NGF is a good thing. We can see from the NGF antibodies, which showed very good effects, but they have side effects. So what we have done is we have developed a negative allosteric modulator focusing on NGF signaling. And here we are expecting to reach the same efficacy, but have a better side effects, develop an oral medication, and also to avoid addiction problems. So this program also have a huge potential. And if we look at 2022, it has been very successful for AlzeCure, and now we are getting ready for 2023. And our milestones and activities that we plan for is to out-license one of our programs, either in pain or in Alzheimer's, to have a pre-IND meeting with the data that we have generated to start the next clinical trial, and also progress a new molecule, alstatin 680, into next phase with preclinical development, and also to advance TrkA NAM towards safety testing and select a clinical candidate. And then also to deliver phase 2 data with ACD440 in neuropathic pain. And to finance this, we are now proposing a rights issue, which already is guaranteed to over 80% by our main shareholders. And we will have a general assembly meeting around this on the November 29, and we have a over Alzheimer option here as well, around 15 million. So this is what we are going for. And the reason why we think that AlzeCure is an interesting company to invest in is because we focus on areas with huge unmet medical need. We have a strong team with strong capabilities that we have shown. We have platforms with first-in-class property, which really can be game changers. We also do parallel investment with potent follow-up programs, and we have multi-billion opportunities. And now we are also a phase 2 company. So this has been a very, very positive development. So thank you for that.
And thank you as well, Martin. I'm curious about the rights issue. You exited the third quarter with cash reserves of 37 million.
Yes.
How come you're doing it right now?
Because we think it's a good time to take in this money, and with our main shareholders that we are having are really believing in what we are doing. So therefore they want to support the company, and they also want to grow their positions in the company. So to finance, and so it's a good time point. And I also think that what we have done now here is also showing the great support we are having. We aren't paying any money to guarantors or anything. Our main shareholders are standing steady behind us.
Is there any specific end that you will use this money toward?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is with regard to preparing for the next study with NeuroRestore. It's also to drive the business development. It's also to forward Alzstatin as well as track A now.
Talk to us a little bit more about the phase 2 study in NeuroRestore. When can we actually expect it to begin?
I wouldn't give you a date there for the moment, because we want to have, first of all, we have new very positive data on several levels. So this data we are now talking about with leading experts as well as potential external partners. And then we will also have a discussion with the FDA in a pre-IND meeting, or to go for an IND. So when we have that feedback, then we can go out to the market and communicate something of relevance.
When I introduced you today, I said that a lot is happening in the Alzheimer's sector, and it almost feels like we're reading new study results from different companies every month. When a competitor gets a positive result, do you get happy?
I get happy because the patients, we need better treatments, and we also need several different treatments. And when it comes for Alzstatin, for example, the results that have come out now with the antibodies validating what we are doing, it also makes me happy because I know that the big pharma companies are now looking for projects in the Alzheimer's space that they can in-license, which is increasing the value of our assets. And I'm also happy that the big pharma companies will invest more in the Alzheimer's space, because the investment has absolutely not been enough.
And how does your products differ from your competitors?
NeuroRestore, there is no other product which is like NeuroRestore, which is a positive allosteric modulator on BDNF and NGF. So that one is unique, and it's patented and everything. When it comes to Alzstatin, there are other companies like Roche, for instance, which has projects like Alzstatin. But if we have a very good molecule and everything and can go in and treat early, this is very attractive for big pharma.
I'll turn towards the crowd now for questions. We have one I can see.
Yeah.
Yes, so for NeuroRestore, you mentioned the beneficial neuroprotective effect and the mitochondrial activity. What is the significance of these findings?
First of all, you know, the mitochondria, it's the power plant of the cell, and you can see in neurodegenerative diseases that it is downregulated. So if you can treat and increase the healthiness of of the cells, that is very positive. And then what is also great is that we see new opportunities to go in other disease areas as well. So it's very, very good.
Any other questions from the crowd? Very well then. Then we'll move on. Martin, thank you very much for being here and presenting.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.